All right, so in fact, I want to comment on that real quick. Generational research is overall trends, and while it's useful, it creates assumptions about people, and it does not honor the rich diversity that exists within every community. So I want you all to keep in mind that you need to take this and sort it through the lens of your organization and the relationships you have. Those are going to be far more helpful to you than, holding on to an overall picture. Also, the research always comes from kind of majority culture. So when we talk about generational trends, what we really mean is who were in the samples, which is almost always college students. That's already a skew in terms of economic background. It's also a racial skew. So you need to take, again, think about that. And then finally, it's just really be careful how you apply this. I want you to leave with this as a potential tool to use, but not for how to walk through the world, because that would be dangerous. So instead of just a grain of salt, I'd like you to an entire truckload of salt as we now go into the most broad brushstroke part of this discussion. So have a handout for you. So if we think about shaping events, how generational research works is it looks at what were those things that hit during those periods of times, and what did that create? So if we think about the Great Depression, it shaped the silent generation by creating an incredible focus on saving money, saving tinfoil, saving rubber bands, and that focus makes perfect sense. If you lived through periods of incredible hunger, planning for never having to do that again would make sense. Same with boomers, shaped by the Vietnam War. Boomers are known for questioning authority. Now, we know that not every boomer was out there with a sign, right? In fact, it was a small percentage. But how that played out in the culture and the use of media to bring this idea of questioning authority into everyone's living room shaped the way boomers relate to institutions of authority, okay? So it's how things are shaped. It's not kind of the end picture. So now I've got this handout. What's on the screen is the same as what's in the handout. But let's talk about each generation. So the shaping events for boomers are these: Kennedy assassination, first moon landing, civil rights movement, Martin Luther King in particular, some of those speeches, the Vietnam War, and then the counterculture that arose as a result of it: sex, drugs, rock and roll, peace, love, hippies, women's liberation, Watergate and what that meant in terms of confirming that, yes, the government does lie to us and they cannot be trusted. The advent of television. Think about the advent of television and how it forever shaped how families hang out together. Okay, it was the beginning of having something that was more fascinating than the people that you're with. Okay, fake people that you watch on television. Credit cards debuted, and boomers got used to this idea of buy now, pay later, and the creation of suburbia in its real strong form. So those are some of the shaping events. There's more, but if I'm giving you just kind of the highlights, those are the highlights. What that did in terms of behaviors, worldview, traits, characteristics, is that boomers as a group are known as having a competitive nature, and particularly in the workforce, kind of having a competitive view toward work, very hardworking, put in a lot of time and hours, very action-oriented, let's do something about this, as a group deeply defined by their work. So the title that they have, their career path, really matters. Focused on accomplishments, and as they had children, millennials are boomers' children. Their children's accomplishments became part of their own sense of self. Comfortable with credit and debt, probably to an extreme, least saving generation of all generations. Comfortable challenging authority, and that we saw in the college environment. As they came to college, it's like, I don't trust the university to know what's best for my kid. I'm going to be actively involved. And that's kind of how boomers approached everything. I'm going to be actively involved in every institution my family has a lot of dealings with. And then certainly high value on social justice. So, broad brushstrokes, snapshot of boomers. Snapshot of Xers, shaped by John Lennon's murder. Working parents. This was the first generation where both parents needed to work to economically kind of make things work out. Latchkey children. End of day, coming home alone, managing themselves, being super independent. Threat of nuclear war. I remember the things under the desk, waiting for the nuclear bomb to drop. High divorce rates. Chernobyl. I mean, basically the list for Gen Xers is nothing works right. Okay? Fall of the Berlin Wall, that's probably the highlight. Challenger explosion, space doesn't even work. Massive corporate layoffs. You can't have a job and it'll take care of you forever. They saw their parents really struggle through that. Advent of the personal computer, trickle-down economics, that didn't work too well either, and AIDS epidemic. So lots of negative things happened in society when Xers were growing up, and what it created was probably number one quality is actually cynicism, and then strongly independent. I have to take care of myself, I have to do it myself. So inherently, again, broad brush stroke, Xers distrust institutions and relationships. That trust has to be earned. Very informed and educated. How they empowered themselves in the world was to become informed and educated, and the advent of the personal computer gave them a great tool for doing that. Values connection, so kind of missing a lot of those connections growing up, really value deep connections as adults. Very pragmatic, resourceful, takes initiative. An Xer will identify a problem, come up with a solution, act on it. Multi-directional, they like to keep their options open because being secure within one career path or one job didn't really happen, so I'm going to keep my options open. Tends to have an informal, casual way of being in the world. Clothing, shabby chic became the decoration style, just kind of less formal, and very innovative. Traits, again, broad brushstrokes, snapshot. So again, you can take whatever generation I'm speaking about. If you like it, you can go, yeah, that's me. And if you don't, you can be like, this stuff doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, millennials, shaped by Princess Diana's death, planned pregnancies. First generation where families actually planned how many children to have, how far apart they would be, how, when to have them. So they were really chosen as children. Not that the rest of us weren't, but some of us are accidents and happy ones, but they were very planned for. Attachment parenting, I'm going to underscore that. That was the parenting style du jour, which says that to raise a healthy, happy child, you need to be close with them and spend a lot of time with them. The problem with attachment parenting is it has no exit strategy. There's no chapter in the book that says when they turn this old, you now can let go. And so boomers never have, okay? And kind of thank God, because with the recession, all the millennials are living at home with the boomers, and it's working out. And, it's an unintended consequence. The other thing that boomers wanted is they wanted millennials to be raised with a sense of self-esteem. And so what they did in the schooling environment is they said, we want to stop giving awards for first, second, and third place. Everyone gets a ribbon for trying. We give an award for everything. Oklahoma City bombing, Columbine shooting, that further exemplified to boomers, we cannot trust the safety of our children to others. We have to be actively involved. Economic boom. Up until September 11th, millennials were raised with the greatest consistent economic boom in our history. Their parents could change jobs easily, increasing wealth until September 11th. So millennials are really a split generation. September 11th changed everything. Recession, of course, the internet. You're connected to everyone at all the time immediately. Social media, Facebook, the fact that I'm going to take a picture of what I'm eating because that's important and share it with all my friends, and they will actually post back that that's really radical and cool, okay? So this idea that every moment of my life is to be shared and I want to hear about everybody else's life is really important in this harnessing of social media. And then, of course, cell phones. For those of us who are older, can you believe that something this small can do all the things that it can do? I mean, it's a massive computer that fits in your pocket. And Garrett's like, dude, I've had one under my pillow since I was 4, right? He grew up with it, and I'm still like, oh my God, this is amazing. So that's a real different trait around it. So what are the traits? Millennials are incredibly optimistic because they were raised to be. You are good at everything. You have a voice in the family. You can do anything you want. We're going to give you a ribbon for it all. Go. Well, life is awesome. They're very tech savvy, like I just said, grew up with it. Globally aware, much more so than any previous generation because media has allowed them to know what's happening in these other parts of the world. And because of social media, actually care and connect with members of those communities. Confident, very confident. I'm going to get more into that later. And empowered. That confidence has led them to a sense of, I can change the world, and I'm going to. Pressured to achieve. Most pressured generation in terms of building up a resume, starting in junior high, most scheduled generation. You've got your play date at 10, your soccer class at 1:30, ballet at 4. Collaborative and team-oriented. Schoolwork was a lot of teamwork, group work. And their parents treated them as equal voices in the house, so they're used to engaging with adults adults respect their opinions. Service-oriented. I'm not surprised that we see a lot of millennials going into nonprofit work. They believe in contributing to their communities and making a difference. Fun-seeking. They want to have a lot of fun, and this is why companies like Google and Zappos are just harnessing this energy, where your cubicle can be, created all kinds of ways. There's a rock wall, a climbing wall in the dining commons that feed you 3 meals a day. Entrepreneurial, really comfortable creating things. Here's what's awesome. Boomers raised millennials to believe that everyone should be treated fair and equal. They really believe it. They really believe that there's no racial differences. There shouldn't be. They believe that women and men are capable of everything. And I always come back to Obama's election. And I don't know if you remember, I was into generational research then, so I was really fascinated by it. If not, go back and watch some of the YouTube videos. But you have boomers who are crying and deeply moved that this has finally happened. And up to the election, believing that it might not, that society may not be ready for this. Boomers going, of course a black man can be president. Like, yeah, why wouldn't that be an option? I'm sorry, millennials. Why wouldn't that be an option? And so their reaction to the election was profound social shift, crying, personally moving, to what's the big deal? Of course, I don't know, but like, you told me everyone was equal, why are you crying about this, right? So real disconnect. Boomers did a great job raising millennials with that worldview. And then also environmentally conscious, as related to that. Okay, so let me see if this will work. But all of this generational research, to your point, does drive how companies interact with and engage the generations. It can be used successfully. It can also get a little bit absurd. So this is an eye to kind of successful / absurd. So that should answer all your marketing questions right now. Have a website, not ads. Sign up for a music service and put it in a bag, and you're good to go, okay? But that's actually serious. Like, Campbell Soup really did that. He's making fun of it, but that's truly Campbell Soup new marketing line for the younger generation.
So who's the creative working?
Whoa, hang on. This gentleman first.
Is everybody laughing because there's a generation gap?
Probably a little bit. Yeah, I mean, on one hand, I get it. You go online to find things out. You don't read newspapers anymore, right? So having a website as opposed to ads would connect to this generation. And this generation, everything about music is in their pocket. So Spotify is something that millennials relate to, right, Gary?
Yeah.
Give me the thumbs up on this. Yeah.
It'd be interesting to know who the creative director was on that. Like, where's that idea coming from? Is
Right.
it coming from a Gen Xer or like a, probably not a boomer. Could be a millennial.
Well, the great thing about marketing executives is that they've never had to totally live the person experience that they're trying to reach if they're good at identifying what they think those people need, right? Certainly social media is something you all should be harnessing if you want to tap into the younger generation. And there's kind of old school ways to do it with a website. And then there's really modern ways to do it with tweeting and blogging and having interactive components. And so if you don't know what I'm talking about, ask the younger members of your team, because they do, and that's where you can really harness the brilliance that they bring to your organizations, right? Yeah. Media has changed everything, and some of us are comfortable with that and some of us aren't.